Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. I'm going to be making some Italian Stromboli, and if you've never had it, well, I hadn't either. So we're going to make some together, and I think it's going to be fun, and I know it's going to be delicious. I have no doubt about this. The ingredients are too fun to miss. So go with me to make some Italian Stromboli. All right, as you know, Stromboli is meats, cheeses, different things wrapped in a pastry dough. It's a yeast dough. So the first thing we want to do is make our dough. Don't be scared of this. You almost cannot mess this up, I promise you. It's really hard unless your yeast is just old. All right, in this we're going to put just a tiny bit. When I say a tiny bit, like half a teaspoon of honey in our bowl. Notice I'm not even measuring it. All that is just something for the yeast to feed on. When it wakes up and comes alive, it's like a baby. I'm hungry and it wants to eat. So to that, we are adding 1 cup of warm water. When I say warm, I don't mean hot. I mean just like warm bath water. Pour that in there. And I'm just going to swish this around. That's what this looks like. I'm just going to swish it around to dissolve the honey a little bit. In that, I'm going to put about a teaspoon of yeast. This is not actually what's in this jar, but it's something similar. I buy mine in bulk and just store it in this jar. The yeast is starting to come alive. It's going to wake up. It's going to get bubbly, but I'm not even going to wait on that. I'm going to put in my 3 level cups of organic all-purpose flour. A couple of tablespoons of olive oil. And a teaspoon of salt. Attach our dough hook to our stand mixer. If you're doing this by hand, it's easy enough to stir by hand, but I've got a stand mixer and I have something else that needs to come out of the oven, so we're using a stand mixer. And let's start kneading it till it's smooth. Okay, our dough mixed for about 6 or 7 minutes, really not long at all. You're just mixing it enough to get it to where it's wet throughout. So this is what our dough looks like. It's stretchy, but it's not really relaxed yet. So we are going to let this rest. I'm going to cover it up with one of those clear hotel shower caps that I always keep in my pantry. We're going to cover this up for about an hour and let it relax, and then we'll come back and we'll roll out the dough. We'll layer our ingredients on it, put a braid on it, brush it, and bake it up. We'll bake it up later, but we'll assemble it in just a bit. So we'll be right back. Okay, we are going to get going on our Stromboli. This has been covered for about an hour and a half. So I would consider that very relaxed dough right there. It's nice and stretchy. I can stretch it out without it tearing too much. This dough is super easy to work with too. This is my just pizza crust recipe. I normally make this, I've said this several times before, I normally make it about 4 days before I knead it. It's the perfect consistency, it's the perfect flavor. It's just a good all-around pizza dough. But it can be used for calzones or anything like that. So when it called for refrigerated pizza crust, no, we're just making our own. That's an easy answer to this. It doesn't take that many ingredients. Super easy to make. And you don't have to run to the supermarket to get something extra. All right, I'm wondering, this normally makes 2 pizzas, so I'm wondering if I need to divide this in half, but it doesn't really look like I would need to. Maybe I'll just make it extra fluffy. So this is my first time I'm making this, so if this has twice as much dough as what we need, we'll know next time we'll just use half of it. So we'll go with that. All right, I'll get out my heavy rolling pin. I saw somebody talking about these one day on some show I was watching, and they said, don't ever use a marble rolling pin. You'll hurt yourself. I've never hurt myself with this. Now, this will be the day that I do it, but you do have to be careful when you set this down, particularly if it's a quartz or a marble countertop or granite, because this is marble as well, and it is super heavy. There's no doubt about that. It is heavy. So I ain't gonna lie to you. It's sometimes difficult to get used to when you're used to using a lightweight one, but this is great when you don't want to use all your muscle to roll out things. This kind of does it for you because it's quite heavy. All right, this just says to roll this out in not a triangle, that would be silly, a rectangle. So that's what we're going to do. And you can flour your countertop if you need to. I don't really think it needs it because I have oil in the dough and it should release pretty well. I don't normally have a difficult time getting it to release from the countertop when I use this recipe. Now I have my pan right here that I'm going to be using, so I'll just kind of eyeball it and measure it, make sure I don't get anything longer than what I need. Okay, that looks like a good length, so we'll just work on the width of it now. Now right now it's just early afternoon and we're not going to have this till about 5:30 tonight for dinner. We've invited some friends over. So what I'm going to do is assemble this and then put it in the refrigerator. And then we'll bake it off right before we need it. All right, I'm going to take this and so I got 9 cuts in it. Okay, or 9 little pieces. 8 cuts, 9 pieces. All right, first thing we want to do is I have, let's see, 3 tablespoons of cream cheese. The recipe called for ricotta. I don't have ricotta. Do I want to go to the store? No. We're using cream cheese, so it's kind of close. So, but again, I've never had this recipe before, so if I'm messing it up, I won't even know. I'll just go, yeah, that's what it's supposed to taste like. So I put this over some warm water so it's super soft. It normally is not that soft, obviously, when you first get it out of the refrigerator, but you can see it is very soft now. I'm going to add Italian seasoning to this, and the recipe calls for 1.5 tablespoons, but I'm kind of scared to overdo it, so I'm going to put 1 in there. We'll see how that works because I make my own. We will link the video to how to make your own Italian seasoning. And it has the recipe with that video. So if you have Italian seasoning, that's great. If you want to make your own, which that's our own, then you'll know how to make it by accessing that video and that recipe. So we're going to stir this together. And this is going to be our spread that we're going to spread down the center of this. And I don't even have to tell you how good that smells. With the garlic and the rosemary in it, it is fabulously aromatic. All right, so this would be 1.5 ounces. If you're looking on your bar of cream cheese at 1.5 ounces, that's what I've cut off there. If you're using ricotta, get out 3 tablespoons of it. Bring it all the way to the end. You don't want to get a piece that doesn't have as much in it as the other pieces. So pretty much just this center area that doesn't have any cuts on it is what you're trying to cover. All right, now we're going to start layering on our ingredients. We have 1/4 pound of salami, and I think this is Hormel Natural. That's what the brand is. It's just in a vacuum sealed package. The outside of it kind of looks like a brown paper sack or cardboard, but the idea is to buy salami that doesn't have any nitrates or nitrites in it, so uncured everything is what we're going for. That's just a better choice. Next is 1/4 pound of ham, and this is uncured ham. I didn't have any lunch meat slices, so this is just some thicker slices that I bought from our local Kroger store recently, but it's smoked, I think it's Maplewood smoked uncured ham. And we use it for so many different things. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll just use it for this too. Because this is all going to be wrapped up in the bread and nobody will know that it's not slices. Thin slices, I should say. These are thicker slices. But again, the idea is uncured. And if you're one of those people that go, how do you even know if it's uncured? It's going to say, just like this. I'd say the package of the pepperoni. It says uncured pepperoni right there. And it'll say uncured ham or whatever meat you're buying. Next is our pepperoni, and it calls for 2 ounces of pepperoni. And I measured it out on a scale, and this is pretty close to that. And again, that's the package that came off of it. This is Applegate Natural brand. But I think Hormel actually has uncured pepperoni as well. And when you look for this, this is probably not in the refrigerated section, just FYI. It's normally hanging on a rack that's not refrigerated. It's not frozen, but that's just the way it comes. There's obviously not an issue with it needing to be cooled in any way. All right. Last thing is it calls for 6 slices of provolone. Provolone normally comes pretty thick like that. All right. And that's what we have. Now we are going to start, I think we start with the top. I'm pretty sure that's what we do. Start with the top. I better extend it over just a little bit though. And kind of braid this as we go down. It's been a while since I've done a braided loaf. Pull the end up just a little bit and seal it so it doesn't all run out of the end. Now we're going to transfer this over to our pan. As you can see, it's not hard to handle. If you've made it just a little bit too long, just lay it in the pan at a diagonal. But as you can see, this fits just fine. Kind of squish it all in there. Now about an hour before we're ready to have this for dinner, I'll take this out of the refrigerator. I'll let it rise a little bit. We're going to brush it with egg later on and then bake it in the oven. It is going to bake at 375 for 20 minutes, so it really doesn't take that long to make. It's just the prep, getting it ready. So we're going to put this in the refrigerator, then we'll come back and we start brushing it with the egg white after it's risen a little bit. So just know that this is going to go in the refrigerator for now, and then we'll get it back out right before we're ready to heat it up or bake it and eat it. So we'll be right back. We are ready to brush our stromboli with an egg wash. And you can use just the egg white if you'd rather, and it really doesn't matter to me. I guess I could shake this up. I'll just use the egg wash to brush this with, and then I'll put it back in the refrigerator. I'll use it for a scrambled egg tomorrow. I'm not going to waste anything. Okay, the dough is still kind of rigid just because it's been in the refrigerator and it's still cold. I took it out about 20 minutes ago to start having it come to room temperature. It's not started rising yet, but it'll do that in the oven. I'm not too concerned about it. The egg wash really and truly, other than just seal the edges on dough sometimes, it's just going to give it that shiny appearance, and it does look really, really pretty. Almost like the shininess of a pretzel or something like that. So since this is my first one, I want it to look pretty. The recipe suggests that you serve a marinara or pizza sauce with it, so I had pizza sauce in the freezer. I freeze it in ice cube trays so that I can have it portioned out. Zoe, do you mind? I'm talking to my friends. So I went and got about 3 of those cubes of pizza sauce, and they've been thawing, but I'll put them in the oven so it'll be a warm sauce. But they just suggest that you serve it alongside, I guess, to dip the slices of stromboli in when you slice it. So we're ready for that. We will also link that video that shows how to make pizza sauce. Again, super easy. This is not complicated. But the pizza sauce is one that for years and years I tried different kinds, and something about them just tasted singed, or I don't know, it just something wasn't right. But then when I discovered this one, I probably took a recipe and just added something or took something out, did something different to it. And as soon as I took a bite of it, I was like, that's what I'm looking for right there. There's no sugar in it, and it doesn't need sugar. For people that say, oh, you need sugar to cut the acidity in the tomatoes. No, you don't. We love tomatoes just like they are. But it's still fabulous. You're not going to miss that sugar at all. I'm not sure why people think sugar has to be added to things. I guarantee you blindfold people, and if they're putting sugar in their turnip greens to give them some kind of flavor, or they're putting it in their pizza sauce thinking it's going to cut the acidity, you blindfold them and let them choose which one has sugar and which one doesn't. I guarantee you they can't tell the difference. But all that to be said, don't need it anyway. Okay, this is thoroughly brushed, and my oven has already preheated. Right before I turned the camera on, the oven had preheated. So, let's see, 451, that'll give us just enough time. It says to bake this for about 20 minutes. I'll probably bake it for just a little bit longer, only because it's cold right now. It's not just going fresh from the countertop with everything being put in it in the oven. So we're going to pop this in the oven, and we'll set the timer for 20 minutes, but at 20 minutes we're going to check it and see what it looks like. And then I'll let you see it with me. So we'll be right back. All right, our guests will be here probably in about 10 minutes or so, but this is what our stromboli looks like. I'm going to put it back in the oven just to keep warm, but our pizza sauce is in there as well, and it's going to be warm when we cut this up and serve it. But see there? It's so easy. This bread dough it's almost foolproof. Honestly, when I say that, I'm not just yanking your chain, because I went for a long time not knowing how to make bread dough, but this has got to be the easiest. The pizza crust is so easy. So make it up way ahead of time if you need to, and roll it out, put your ingredients on there. Change up the ingredients, whatever you need to. If you don't like provolone and you want to change the cheese to mozzarella, then do that, by all means. It's your stromboli. You do what you want. But I'm hoping this is going to be good. Hey, thanks for joining us. We're going to link all those videos that you need for the pizza dough, the pizza sauce, those things in the description, and this whole recipe will be in there as well. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. I'm going to put this back in the oven now. Bye, guys.